The question is, if you want Jesus to multiply the bread, are you in the wilderness? Have I preached to you throughout the whole night? And even though I preached to you, some of you here in the car there, you have cooler there. Should have violated the principle for that. There are many lads here, many children with bread, with tomatoes, with some of you brought a bag. What stew? Akpu fufu is in your car. Some of you have money. Before you came here now, you have gone to the restaurant 2 times. You have eaten. In your bag now, as I'm talking, there's buns and meat pie. So that miracle cannot happen. So it will be an error to multiply it. Most of you don't understand. In this auditorium, there are billionaires here. Millionaires here. There are many of you that can feed us 10 times. 10 times. So how dare you say God should multiply the bread when you can multiply it 10 times? So the miracle is already in your hand, but you are not seeing it. Revelational keys to greater greatness. What I mean revelational keys is mysteries attached to the keys. And the number 1 key, revelational key, is what I call the superiority of today's vision. The superiority of today's vision. So hear this. If you are going to be greater, what I just started by introduction is the superiority of today's vision, which is Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 10. Do not say that the former things are better than now, because the glory of this latter house shall be greater than the former. Hear me? Jesus said, if you believe in me, you shall do greater works than what I have done. Meaning that every work I ever did, you will do times 10 of that. Why? All the miracles Jesus performed, he performed them without going to the cross. Meaning, he had not died when he performed all the miracles. Raising Lazarus from dead, Jesus at that time was still on earth. Turning water to wine, he was on earth. Feeding 5,000 men, he was on earth. So hear this, he now said before he died, that you will do greater work. Why? Because after I die, there is going to be a superpower that will be better. Because all we are enjoying today that the prophet saw was the revelation of the church by salvation. And Jesus was talking about a greater glory. Now let me explain. Have you heard people say, miracles are not happening the way it happened in the days of Jesus? You hear them say, no miracle. We are not seeing signs and wonders. Like Jesus feeding 5,000 men and few fish and loaf of bread multiplied. Please sit down. The question I want to ask you, have you seen any pastor multiplying bread in our days? Have you seen any prophet turning water to wine? Even though you see, you will doubt it. Raising dead back to life. But he said we will do greater glory. Why are the miracles in our days not high like the days of Jesus? Question, and let's balance it. Is it the same Jesus that did those miracles that is alive now? Yes, of course. Okay, he has gone to heaven. No. It's inside me. The only difference is that you are not seeing it physically, but it's inside me. So he's still present inside me to do the same thing. That's why he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Now, I'm giving you a revelational mystery now that shows that the glory of this house is superior than the former glory. Let me start by saying this. Elijah called down fire from heaven. If you call down fire today from heaven, people will doubt you. Do you know why? In the days of Elijah, there is no Bible. And the people Elijah was dealing with were prophets of Baal. In fact, the wife of the president was Jezebel. She did not believe. There was no belief. And the audience was completely different. That is the people he was dealing with. So the reason why God had to honor Elijah by bringing down fire was because, one, Elijah needed to convince the president that God is alive. Now, if you want to do the same miracle that Elijah did, I want to ask you, who is pursuing you? Is there any Jezebel chasing you? Which president are you confronting? Another question is that, who are you trying to convince? Majority of you here, you are born again. So if I bring down fire, what am I trying to convince you? That miracle cannot happen. Not because God cannot do it. The miracle you need, your faith is more superior than the days of Elijah's audience. The audience don't have Bible, they don't have faith. You are thinking that they have faith, they did not have faith. So God have to bring down fire to convince them that He's God. Why will God bring down fire to convince you that you already know God is alive? There are certain miracles that will never happen. Not because they cannot happen. It will be a waste of spiritual energy, potential, and materials. Let me explain. Jesus fed 5,000 men. And these 5,000 men, they went to the wilderness with Jesus. And while they were in wilderness with Jesus, none of them carried bread. That is to show you the population He was preaching to. They were very poor. And it was only a lad that remembered to carry few fish and loaf of bread. So Jesus' disciples said they hadn't too much money to feed them. So Jesus had to multiply the bread to feed them. Because the audience at that time, they needed that. It would be an error for me to multiply bread here. Because some of you can buy bread for everybody here. So why will God multiply the bread when Joshua Iginla can feed everybody? It will be an error. But there is a more greater miracle. The greater miracle is that He gave me money and gave me capacity to feed. So there are many of us feeding 10,000, 20,000. More miracle, but you are not seeing it as a miracle. Because the miracle has been modified, advanced, and it is changing style. But we want to see it as that time. The question is, if you want Jesus to multiply the bread, are you in the wilderness? Have I preached to you throughout the whole night? And even though I preached to you, some of you here in the car there, you have cooler there. Should have violated the principle for that. There are many lads here, many children with bread, with tomatoes, with some of you brought a bag. What stew? Akbu fufu is in your car. Some of you, you have money. Before you came here now, you have gone to the restaurant 2 times. You have eaten. In your bag now, as I'm talking, there's buns and meat pie. So that miracle cannot happen. So it will be an error to multiply it. Most of you don't understand. In this auditorium, there are billionaires here. Millionaires here. There are many of you that can feed us 10 times. 10 times. So how dare you say God should multiply the bread when you can multiply it 10 times? So the miracle is already in your hand, but you are not seeing it. I want to see fire burning in a bush. Fire! Then God will now call Moses and say, Moses, pull your shoe. The ground you are standing is an holy ground. That's a powerful experience. Most of you are praying for that experience. But it's unfortunate you will not get that experience. The reason is simple. Moses was born and put in a basket and raised for 40 years in a pagan family. He saw magicians throwing stick and it becomes snake. He saw many miracles performed by the magicians in his father's palace. Adopted father. He was a prince. Moses was not born again at all. In fact, he committed murder and ran away. After 80 years of being in exile, one day he was walking in the bush. God needed to convert an unbeliever to know him. So in order to convince this man that does not have faith, the question I ask you, did you kill anybody? Have you run for 40 years? Are you in the wilderness? Were you born in Pharaoh's palace? The question is that, are you born again? Yes. Why should God convince you with fire burning in the bush? What is the excess of that miracle? Do you know that some of us faith is stronger than Moses' faith when Moses received the call? Do you know why? We believe him. He doesn't need to introduce himself to us as I am that I am. We already know who he is. So he had to appear to Moses and tell him, what do you have in your hand? Because Moses is used to magician. So throw the stone, throw the stick down, so let me show you that I can perform. In fact, Moses would have not answered that call until there is a performance. It was the performance that made Moses to answer the call. People like us, we answered the call, there was no performance. I met a woman preaching in the barrack when I encountered God. A woman was preaching. There was no stone. There was no fire. I didn't see physical fire burning. I heard, and the word was like fire in my heart, and I gave my life to Christ. My faith when I gave my life to Christ, I'm not trying to be bragging. Some of you, faith is stronger than the days of Moses' faith. Do you know why? God cannot convince you with fire. You already have greater faith than Moses' faith.